Monday, January 19th, 3 p.m. Genovian time, Royal Genovian jet, 35,000 feet in the air. I cannot believe that A. My dad is staying in Genovia in order to resolve the parking crisis rather than coming back to New York with me. B. He actually believed Grandmere when she said, due to my poor performance in Genovia, that my princess lessons need to continue. C. She, not to mention Rommel, is coming back to New York with me. It is not fair. I held up my part of the agreement. I went to every single princess lesson Grandmere gave last fall. I passed algebra. I gave my stupid address to the Genovian people. Grandmere says that in spite of what I might think, I still have a lot to learn about governance, except that she is so wrong. I know she is only coming back to New York with me so she can go on torturing me. It is kind of like her hobby now. In fact, for all I know, it might even be her gift, her God-given talent. At least she's lucky enough to have one, but it is still so not fair. And yes, before I left, my dad slipped me €100 and told me if I didn't make a fuss about Grandmere, he would make it up to me someday. But there is nothing he can do to make this up to me. Nothing. He says she is just a harmless old lady and that I should try to enjoy her while I can because someday she won't be with us anymore. I just looked at him like he was crazy. Even he couldn't keep a straight face. He went, okay, I'll donate $200 a day to Greenpeace if you keep her out of my hair. Which is funny because of course my dad hasn't got any hair, I mean. That is double the amount he was already donating in my name to my favorite organization. I sincerely hope Greenpeace appreciates the supreme sacrifice I am making for its sake. So, Grandmere is coming back to New York with me and dragging a cowering Rommel along with her, just when his fur had started to grow back too. Poor thing. I told my dad I would put up with the whole princess lesson thing again this semester, but that he would better get one thing straight with Grandmere beforehand, and that is this. I have a serious boyfriend now. Grandmere had better not try to sabotage this or think she can be trying to fix me up with any more Prince Renees. I don't care how many crown titles the guy has. My heart belongs to Mr. Michael Moskowitz Esquire. My dad said he would see what he could do, but I don't know how much he was actually paying attention since Miss Such Republic was hanging around, twirling her sash kind of impatiently. Anyway, a little while ago, I told Grandmere myself that she better watch it where Michael is concerned. I don't want to hear anything more about how I am too young to be in love, I said over the lunch. Poached salmon for Grandmere, three-bean salad for me, served by the Royal Genevian flight attendants. I am old enough to know my own heart, and that means I am old enough to give that heart away if I choose to. Grandmere said something about how then I should get ready for some heartburn, but I ignored her, just because her romantic life since Grandpa died has been less than satisfactory is no reason for her to be so cynical about mine. I mean, that is just what she gets for going out with media moguls and dictators and stuff. Michael and I, on the other hand, are going to have a great love, just like Jane and Mr. Rochester, or Beauty and the Beast, or at least we will if we ever actually get to go out on a date. One day, 14 hours until I see him again. Monday, January 19th. Martin Luther King Day. The Loft at last. I am so happy I feel like I could burst, just like that eggplant I once dropped out of Lily's 16th floor bedroom window. I'm home. I'm finally home. I cannot tell you how good it felt to look out the window of the airplane and see the bright lights of Manhattan below me. It brought tears to my eyes, knowing I was once again in the airspace above my beloved city. Below me, I knew cab drivers were running down little old ladies, unfortunately not grandmere. Deli owners were short-changing their customers, investment bankers were not cleaning up after their dogs, and people all over town were having their dreams of becoming singers, actors, musicians, novelists, or dancers completely crushed by soulless producers, directors, agents, editors, and choreographers. Yes, I was back in my beautiful New York. I was back home at last. I especially knew it was when I stepped off the plane and there was Lars waiting for me, ready to take over bodyguarding duty from Francois, the guy who had looked after me in Genovia and who had taught me all the French swear words. Lars looked especially menacing on account of being all darkly tanned from his month off. He had spent his winter break with Tina Hakim Baba's boyfriend Rahim, snorkeling and hunting wild boar in Belize. He gave me a piece of ivory tusk as a memento of his trip. Even though of course I don't approve of killing animals recreationally, even wild boars who really can't help being so ugly and mean. Then, after a delay of 65 minutes, thanks to a pile-up on the Belt Parkway, I was home. It was so good to see my mom. Her belly is starting to show now. I didn't want to say anything because even though my mom says she does not believe in the Western standard of idealized beauty and that there is nothing wrong with a woman who is bigger than a size 8, I'm pretty sure, though, that if I had said anything like, "Mom, you're huge," even in a complimentary fashion, she would start to cry. After all, she still has quite a few months left to go. So instead, I just went, "That baby has to be a boy, or if it's not, it's a girl who is going to be as tall as me." "Oh, I hope so," my mom said, as she brushed tears of joy from her face. Or maybe she was crying because Fat Louie was biting her ankle so hard in effort to get near me. I could use another you for when you aren't around. I missed you so much. There was no one to berate me for ordering roast pork and wonton soup from number one noodle son. "I tried," Mr. Giannini assured me. "Mr. G looks great too. He is growing a goatee." I pretended I liked it. Then I bent down and picked up Fat Louie who was yowling to get my attention, and gave him a great big hug. I may be wrong, but I think he lost weight while I was away. I do not want to accuse anyone of purposely starving him, but I noticed his dry food bowl was not completely full. In fact, it was perilously close to being only half full. I always keep Fat Louie's bowl filled to the brim, because you never know when there might be a sudden plague like killing everyone in Manhattan but cats. Fat Louie can't pour out his own food, having no thumbs, so he needs a little extra just in case we all die and there is no one around to open the bag for him. But the loft looks so great. Mr. Gianni did a lot to it while I was gone. He got rid of the Christmas tree, the first time in the history of the Thermopolis household that the Christmas tree was out of the loft by Easter, and had the place wired for DSL. So now you can email or go on the internet anytime you want without tying up the phone. It is like a Christmas miracle. And that's not all. Mr. D also fully redid the dark room left over from when my mom was going through her Ansel Adams stage. He pulled the boards off the windows and got rid of all the noxious chemicals that have been sitting around since forever because my mom and I were too afraid to touch them. Now the dark room is going to be the baby's room. It is so sunny and nice in there, or at least it was until my mom started painting the walls in egg tempera, of course, so as not to jeopardize the welfare of her unborn child, with scenes of important historical significance, such as the trial of Winona Ryder and the engagement of J-Lo and Ben Affleck, so that, she says, the baby will have an understanding of all the problems facing our nation. Mr. G assured me privately that he's going to have the whole thing painted over as soon as my mom gets admitted to the maternity ward. She will never know the difference once the endorphins kick in. All I can say is thank God Mom picked a man with so much common sense with whom to produce this time around. But the best thing of all was what was waiting for me on the answering machine. My mom played it for me proudly almost the minute I walked through the door. It was a message from Michael, my first recorded message from Michael since I became his girlfriend, which of course means it worked, the my not calling him thing, I mean. The message goes like this. Hi, Mia? Yeah, it's Michael. I was just wondering if you could, call me when you get this message, 'cause I haven't heard you from in a while, and I just want to know if you're, okay. And make sure you got home alright, and that there's nothing wrong. Okay, that's all. Well, bye. This is Michael, by the way. Or maybe I said that. I can't remember. Hi, Mrs. Thermopolis. Hi, Mr. G. Okay, well, call me, Mia. Bye. I took the tape out of the message machine and am keeping it in the drawer of my nightstand along with a some grains of rice from the bag Michael and I sat on at the cultural diversity dance in memory of the first time we ever slow danced together. B. A dried out piece of toast from the Rocky Horror Show, which is where Michael and I went on our first date, though it wasn't really a date because Kenny came too, and See, a cut-out snowflake from the non-denominational winter dance in memory of the first time Michael and I kissed. It was the best Christmas present I could ever have gotten, that message, even better than DSL. So then I came into my room and unpacked and played the message over about 50 times on my tape player, and my mom kept coming in to give me more hugs and asking me if I wanted to listen to her new Liz Phair CD and wanting to show me her stretch marks. Then, about the 13th time she came in, I was playing Michael's message again, and she was all, "Haven't you called him back yet, honey?" And I went, "No." And she went, "Well, why not?" And I went, "Because I'm trying to be like Jane Eyre." And then my mom got all squinty-eyed, like she does whenever they're debating funding for the arts on CSPAN. "Jane Eyre?" she echoed. "You mean the book?" "Exactly," I said, tugging the little Napoleonic diamond napkin holders that the Prime Minister of France had given me for Christmas out from beneath Fat Louis, who had laid down inside my suitcase, I guess in the mistaken belief that I was packing, not unpacking, and he wanted to try to stop me from going away again. "See? Jane didn't chase Mr. Rochester, she let him chase her, and so Tina and we have both taken solemn vows that we are going to be just like Jane." Unlike Grandmere, my mom didn't look happy to hear this. "But Jane Eyre was so mean to poor Mr. Rochester," she cried. I didn't mention that this was what I had thought too, at first. "Mom," I said, very firmly, "what about the whole keeping Bertha locked up in the attic thing?" "Because she was a lunatic," my mom pointed out. "It wasn't like they had psychotropic drugs back then. Keeping Bertha locked in the attic was kinder, really, than sending her to a mental hospital. Considering what they were like during that era, with people chained to the walls. Really, Mia, I swear I don't know where you get half your ideas. Jane Eyre? Who told you about Jane Eyre?" I said, stalling because I knew my mom wasn't going to like the answer. "Grandmere." My mom's lips got so thin they completely disappeared. "I should have known," she said. "Well, Mia, I think it is commendable that you and your friends have decided not to chase boys. However, if a boy leaves a nice message on the answering machine like Michael did, it could hardly be construed as chasing for you to do the polite thing and return his call." I thought about this. My mom was probably right. I mean, it isn't as if Michael has a crazy wife in the attic. The Fifth Avenue apartment where the Moscovites live doesn't even have an attic, so far as I know. "Okay," I said, setting down the clothes I'd been putting away. "I guess I could return his call." My heart was swelling at the very idea. In a minute, less than a minute, if I could get my mom out of my room fast enough, I'd be talking to Michael. And there wouldn't be that weird swooshing sound there always is when you call from across the ocean, because there would be no ocean separating us, just Washington Square Park, and I wouldn't have to worry about him wishing I were Kate Bosworth instead of Mia Thermopolis, because there are no Kate Bosworth types in Manhattan. or at least if there are, they have to keep their clothes on, at least in winter. Returning calls probably doesn't count as chasing, I said. That would probably be okay. My mom, who was sitting on the end of my bed, just shook her head. Really, Mia, she said, you know I don't like to contradict your grandmother. This was the biggest lie I had heard since Renee told me I waltzed divinely, but I let it slide on account of my mom's condition. But I really don't think you should be playing mind games with boys, particularly a boy you care about, particularly a boy like Michael. Mom, if I want to spend the rest of my life with him, I have to play games with Michael, I explained to her patiently. I certainly can't tell him the truth. If he were ever to learn the depths of my passion for him, he would run like a startled fawn. My mom looked stunned. A what? A startled fawn, I explained. See, Tina told her boyfriend Dave Farooq how she really feels about him, and he pulled a total David Caruso on her. My mom blinked. A who? David Caruso, I said. I felt sorry for my mom. Clearly, she had only managed to snag Mr. Giannini by the skin of her teeth. I couldn't believe she didn't know this stuff. You know, he disappeared for a really long time. Dave only resurfaced when Tina managed to scrounge WrestleMania tickets for the Garden, and ever since, Tina says things have been really awkward. Done unpacking, I shooed Fat Louie out of the suitcase, closed it, and put it on the floor. Then I sat next to my mom on the bed. Mom, I said, I do not want that to happen to me and Michael. I love Michael more than anything else in the entire world, except for you and Fat Louie. I just said that to be polite. I think I love Michael more than I love my mom. It sounds terrible to say, but I can't help it. It is just how I feel. But I will never love anyone or anything as much as I love Fat Louie. So, don't you see? I said to her, what Michael and I have, I don't want to mess it up. He's my Romeo in black jeans. Even though, of course, I have never seen Michael in black jeans, but I am sure he has some. It is just that we have a dress code at our school, so usually when I see him, he is in grey flannel pants, as that is part of our uniform. And the fact of the matter is, Michael could do way better than me anyway, so I have to be especially careful. My mom blinked at me sort of confusedly. Better than you? What on earth are you talking about, Mia? Well, you know, I said. I mean, Mom, I'm not exactly a catch. I'm not really pretty or anything, and I think we both know how hard I had to work just to pass my first semester of freshman algebra. And it isn't as if I am really good at anything. Mia! My mom looked totally shocked. What are you talking about? You are good at lots of things. Why, you know everything there is to know about the environment and Iceland and what's playing on the Lifetime channel. I tried to smile encouragingly at her, like I actually thought these things were talents. I didn't want to make my mom feel bad for not having passed any of her artistic gifts on to me. That is totally not her fault, just some faulty DNA strand somewhere. Yeah, I said, but see, Mom, those aren't actually talents. Michael is gorgeous and smart and he can play a bunch of instruments and write songs and is good at just about everything, and it's really only a matter of time until he gets snatched up by some totally pretty girl who can surf or whatever. I don't know why, my mom said. You think that just because you had to work a little harder at algebra than other people in your class that you are not good at anything, or that Michael is going to take up with a girl who can surf. But I do think that if you haven't seen a boy in a month and he leaves a message for you, the decent thing to do is to call him back. If you don't, I think you can pretty much guarantee he is going to run, and not like a startled fawn either. I blinked at my mom. She had a point. I saw then that grandmare's scream, of always keeping the man who loved guessing as to whether or not you love him back, had some pitfalls, such as he could just decide you don't like him and take off, and maybe fall in love with some other girl of whose affection he could be assured, such as Judith Greshner, president of the computer club and all-around prodigy, even though supposedly she is dating a boy from Trinity. But you never know, that could be a ruse to lull me into a false sense of security about Michael and let my guard down, thinking he is safe from Judith's fruit fly cloning clutches. Mia, my mom said, looking at me all concerned, are you all right? I tried to smile, but I couldn't. How, I wondered, could Tina and I have overlooked this very serious flaw in our plan? Even now, Michael could be on the phone with Judith or some other equally intellectual girl, talking about quasars or photons or whatever it is smart people talk about. Worse, he could be on the phone with Kate Bosworth, talking about wave surface. Mom, I said, standing up, you have to go. I have to call him. I was glad the panic that was clutching my throat wasn't audible in my voice. Oh, Mia, my mom said, looking pleased. I really think you should. Charlotte Bronte is, of course, a brilliant author, but you've got to remember she wrote Jane Eyre back in the 1840s, and things were a little different then. Mom, I said, Lily and Michael's parents, the doctors Moskowitz, have this totally hard-fast rule about calling after 11 on school nights. It is verboten, and it was practically 11 and my mom was still standing there, keeping me from having the privacy I would need if I were going to make this all-important call. Oh, she said, smiling. Even though she is pregnant, my mom still looks like a total babe, with all this long black hair that curls just right. Clearly, I inherited my dad's hair, which I've actually never seen since he's always been bald since I've known him. DNA is so unfair. Anyway, finally she left. Pregnant women move so slowly. I swear you would think evolution would have made them quicker so they could get away from predators or whatever, but I guess not. And I lunged for the phone, my heart pounding because at last, I was going to get to talk to Michael, and my mom had even said that it was all right, that my calling him wouldn't count as chasing since he had called me first. And just as I was about to pick the receiver, the phone rang. My heart actually did this flippy thing inside my chest, like it does every time I see Michael. It was Michael calling. I just knew it. I picked up after the second ring. even though I didn't want him dumping me for some more attentive girl. I didn't want him to think I was sitting by the phone waiting for him to call either, and said, in my most sophisticated tone, "Hello." Grandmare's cigarette-ravaged voice filled my ear. "Amelia," she rasped, "why do you sound like that? Are you coming down with something?" Grandmere. I couldn't believe it. It was 10:59. I had exactly 1 minute left to call Michael without running the risk of the wrath of its parents. "I can't talk now. I have to make another call." "Foot!" Grandmere made her noise of disapproval. "And who would you be calling at this hour, as if I didn't know?" Grandmere. 10:59 and a half. It's okay. He called me first. I am returning his call. It is the polite thing to do. "It's too late for you to be calling that boy," Grandmere said. 11 o'clock. I had missed my opportunity. Thanks to Grandmere. "You'll see him at school tomorrow anyway," she went on. "Now let me speak to your mother." "My mother?" I said, stalling because I knew my mom wasn't going to like the answer. "Grandmere." My mom's lips got so thin they completely disappeared. "I should have known," she said. "Well, Mia, I think it is commendable that you and your friends have decided not to chase boys. However, if a boy leaves a nice message on the answering machine like Michael did, it could hardly be construed as chasing for you to do the polite thing and return his call." I thought about this. My mom was probably right. I mean, it isn't as if Michael has a crazy wife in the attic. The Fifth Avenue apartment where the Moskowitz live doesn't even have an attic so far as I know. "Okay," I said, setting down the clothes I'd been putting away. "I guess I could return his call." My heart was swelling at the very idea. In a minute, less than a minute, if I could get my mom out of my room fast enough, I'd be talking to Michael, and there wouldn't be that weird swooshing sound there always is when you call from across the ocean, because there would be no ocean separating us, just Washington Square Park. And I wouldn't have to worry about him wishing I were Kate Bosworth instead of Mia Thermopolis, because there are no Kate Bosworth types in Manhattan. Or at least, if there are, they have to keep their clothes on, at least in winter. "Returning calls probably doesn't count as chasing," I said. "That would probably be okay." My mom, who was sitting on the end of my bed, just shook her head. "Really, Mia," she said, "you know I don't like to contradict your grandmother." This was the biggest lie I'd heard since Renee told me I waltzed divinely, but I let it slide on account of Mom's condition. "But I really don't think you should be playing mind games with boys, particularly a boy you care about, particularly a boy like Michael." "Mom, if I want to spend the rest of my life with him, I have to play games with Michael," I explained to her patiently. "I certainly can't tell him the truth. If he were ever to learn the depths of my passion for him, he would run like a startled fawn." My mom looked stunned. "A what?" "A startled fawn," I explained. "See, Tina told her boyfriend Dave Farooqalabar how she really feels about him, and he pulled a total David Caruso on her." My mom blinked. "A who?" "David Caruso," I said. I felt sorry for my mom. Clearly she had only managed to snag Mr. Giannini by the skin of her teeth. I couldn't believe she didn't know this stuff. You know, he disappeared for a really long time. They've only resurfaced when Tina managed to scrounge WrestleMania tickets for the garden, and ever since Tina says things have been really awkward. Done unpacking, I shooed Fat Louie out of the suitcase, closed it, and put it on the floor. Then I sat next to my mom on the bed. "Mom," I said, "I do not want that to happen to me and Michael. I love Michael more than anything else in the entire world, except for you and Fat Louie." I just said the "you" part to be polite. I think I love Michael more than I love my mom. It sounds terrible to say, but I can't help it. It is just how I feel. But I will never love anyone or anything as much as I love Fat Louie. "So, don't you see," I said to her, "what Michael and I have? I don't want to mess it up. He's my Romeo in black jeans." Even though, of course, I have never seen Michael in black jeans, but I am sure he has some. It is just that we have a dress code at our school, so usually when I see him he is in grey flannel pants, as that is part of our uniform, and the fact of the matter is Michael could do way better than me anyway, so I have to be especially careful. My mom blinked at me sort of confusedly. "Better than you? What on earth are you talking about, Mia?" "Well, you know," I said, "I mean, Mom, I am not exactly a catch. I'm not really pretty or anything, and I think we both know how hard I had to work just to pass my first semester of freshman algebra. And it isn't as if I am really good at anything." "Mia!" My mom looked totally shocked. "What are you talking about? You are good at lots of things. Why, you know everything there is to know about the environment and Iceland and what's playing on the Lifetime channel." I tried to smile encouragingly at her, like I actually thought these things were talents. I didn't want to make my mom feel bad for not having passed any of her artistic gifts on to me. That is totally not her fault, just some faulty DNA strand somewhere. "Yeah," I said, "but see, Mom, those aren't actually talents. Michael is gorgeous and smart and he can play a bunch of instruments and write songs and is just good at about anything. And it's really only a matter of time until he gets snatched up by some totally pretty girl who can surf or whatever." "I don't know why," my mom said, "you think that just because you had to work a little harder at algebra than other people in your class that you are not good at anything, or that Michael is going to take up with a girl who can surf. But I do think that if you haven't seen a boy in a month and he leaves a message for you, the decent thing to do is to call him back. If you don't, I think you can pretty much guarantee he's going to run, and not like a startled fawn either." I blinked at my mom. She had a point. I saw then that Grandmare's scheme, you know, of always keeping the man you love guessing as to whether or not you love him back, had some pitfalls, such as he could just decide you don't like him and take off, and maybe fall in love with some other girl of whose affection he could be assured, such as Judith Grushner, president of the computer club and all-around prodigy, even though supposedly she is dating a boy from Trinity. But you never know. That could be a ruse to lull me into false sense of security about Michael and let my guard down, thinking he is safe from Judith's fruit-fly cloning clutches. "Mia," my mom said, looking at me all concerned, Are you all right? I tried to smile, but I couldn't. How, I wondered, could Tina and I have overlooked this very serious flaw in our plan? Even now, Michael could be on the phone with Judith or some other equally intellectual girl talking about quasars or photons or whatever it is smart people talk about. Worse, he could be on the phone with Kate Bosworth talking about wave surface. Mom, I said, standing up, you have to go. I have to call him. I was glad the panic that was clutching my throat wasn't audible in my voice. "Oh, Mia," my mom said, looking pleased, "I really think you should. Charlotte Bronte is, of course, a brilliant author, but you've got to remember she wrote Jane Eyre back in the 1840s, and things were a little different then." "Mom," I said, "Lily and Michael's parents, the Doctors Moscovitz, have this totally hard-fast rule about calling after 11 on school nights. It is verboten, and it was practically 11, and my mom was still standing there keeping me from having the privacy I would need if I were going to make this all-important call." "Oh," she said, smiling, "even though she is pregnant, my mom still looks like a total babe, with all this long black hair that curls just right. Clearly I inherited my dad's hair, which I've actually never seen, since he's always been bald since I've ever known him. DNA is so unfair." Anyway, finally she left. Pregnant women move so slowly. I swear you would think evolution would have made them quicker so they could get away from predators or whatever, but I guess not. And I lunged for the phone, my heart pounding because at last, I was going to get to talk to Michael, and my mom had even said that it was all right, that my calling him wouldn't count as chasing him since he had called me first. And just as I was about to pick up the receiver, the phone rang. My heart actually did this flippy thing inside my chest, like it does every time I see Michael. It was Michael calling. I just knew it. I picked up after the second ring, even though I didn't want him dumping me for some more attentive girl. I didn't want him to think I was sitting by the phone waiting for him to call either, and said in my most sophisticated tone, "Hello." Grandmare's cigarette-ravaged voice filled my ear. "Amelia?" she rasped. "Why do you sound like that? Are you coming down with something?" Grandmere! I couldn't believe it. It was 10:59. I had exactly 1 minute left to call Michael without running the risk of the wrath of his parents. "I can't talk now. I have to make another call." "Wait!" Grandmere made her noise of disapproval. "And who would you be calling at this hour as if I didn't know?" Grandmere. 10:59 and a half. "It's okay. He called me first. I am returning his call. It is the polite thing to do." "It's too late for you to be calling that boy," Grandmere said. 11 o'clock. I had missed my opportunity, thanks to Grandmere. "You'll see him at school tomorrow anyway." She went on, "Now let me speak to your mother." My mother? I was shocked by this. Grandmere never talks to my mom if she can help it. They haven't gotten along since my mom refused to marry my dad after she got pregnant with me, on account of her not wanting her child to be subjected to the vicissitudes of a progenitive aristocracy. "Yes, your mother," Grandmere said. Surely you've heard of her. So I went out and passed the phone to my mom, who was sitting out in the living room with Mr. Gyanini watching Law and Order. I didn't tell her who was on the phone because if I had, my mom would have told me to tell Grandmother that she was in the shower, and then I would have had to talk to her some more. "Hello," my mom said, all brightly, thinking it was one of her friends calling to comment on the hijinks of Howard K. Stern and Bobby Trendy. I slunk out as fast as I could. There were several heavy objects lying around the couch that my mom could have hurled in my direction if I had stayed within missile range. Back in my room, I thought sadly about Michael. What was I going to say to him tomorrow when Lars and I pulled up in the limo to pick him and Lily up after school? That I'd gotten in too late to call? What if he noticed my nostrils flaring as I spoke? I don't know if he's figured out that they do that when I lie. But I think I would sort of mention it to Lily since I have complete inability to keep my mouth shut about stuff I really should just keep to myself. And supposing she told him? Then, as I sat there dejectedly on my bed, pretty sleepy because in Genovia it was 5 in the morning and I was totally jet-lagged, I had a brilliant idea. I could see if Michael was logged on and instant message him. I could do it even though my mom was on the phone with Grandmere because we have DSL now. So I scrambled over to my computer and did just that, and he was online. "Michael," I wrote. "Hi, it's me. I'm home. I wanted to call you, but it's after 11 and I didn't want your mom and dad to get mad. Michael has changed his screen name since the demise of Crackhead. He's no longer cracking. He's Linux rules in protest of the stranglehold Microsoft has on the software industry. Linux rules. Welcome home. It's good to hear from you. I was worried you were dead or something." So he had noticed I had stopped calling, which meant the plan that Tina and I had come up with was working perfectly, at least so far. Fat Louie. No, not dead, just super busy. You know, fate of the aristocracy resting on my shoulders and all of that. So, should Lars and I pick you and Lily up for school tomorrow? Linux rules. That'd be good. What are you doing Friday? What am I doing Friday? Was he asking me out? Were Michael and I actually going to have a date at last? I tried to type casually so he wouldn't know that I was so excited. I had already freaked Fat Louie out by jumping up and down in my computer chair and almost rolling over his tail. Fat Louie. Nothing, so far as I know. Why? Linux rules. Want to go to dinner at the screening room? They are showing the first Star Wars. Oh my God, he was asking me out. Dinner and a movie at the same time because at the screening room you just sit at a table and eat dinner while the movie is going. And Star Wars is only my favorite movie of all time, after Dirty Dancing. Could there be a girl luckier than me? No, I don't think so. Bite me, Miley. My fingers were trembling as I typed. Fat Louie. I think that would be okay. I'll have to check with my mom. Can I let you know tomorrow? Linux rules. Okay, so see you tomorrow around 8:15. Fat Louie. Tomorrow, 8:15. I wanted to add something like I missed you or I love you, but I don't know. It just felt too weird and I couldn't do it. I mean, it's embarrassing telling the person you love that you love them. It shouldn't be, but it is. Also, it didn't seem like something Jane Eyre would do unless, she had just discovered the man she loved had gone blind in a heroic attempt to rescue his crazy firebug wife from an inferno she had set herself. Asking me out to dinner and a movie didn't really seem the same somehow. Then Michael wrote, Linux rules. Kid, I've been from one side of this galaxy to the other, which is one of my favorite lines from the first Star Wars. So then I wrote, Fat Louie, I happen to like nice men. Jumping ahead to The Empire Strikes Back, to which Michael replied, Linux rules, I'm nice, which is better than saying I love you, because right after Han Solo says that, he totally kisses Princess Leia. Oh my god, it really is like Michael is Han Solo and I'm Princess Leia, because Michael is good at fixing stuff like hyperdrives and well, I'm a princess and I'm very socially conscious like Leia and everything. Plus, Michael's dog, Pavlov, sort of looks like Chewbacca, if Chewbacca was a Sheltie. I could not imagine a more perfect date if I tried. Mom will let me go too, because the screening room isn't that far away and it's Michael after all. Even Mr. Giannini likes Michael, and he doesn't like many of the boys who go to Albert Einstein. He says they are mostly all walking bundles of testosterone. I wonder if Princess Leia ever read Jane Eyre, but maybe Jane Eyre doesn't exist in her galaxy. I will never get to sleep now. I am too worked up. I am going to see him in 8 hours and 15 minutes. And on Friday I am going to be sitting next to him in a darkened room all alone with no one else around except all the waitresses and the other people at the movie. The Force is so with me. Tuesday, January 20th. First day of school after winter break. Homeroom. I barely made it out of bed this morning. In fact, the only reason I was able to drag myself out from beneath the covers and Fat Louie, who laid on my chest purring like a weed whacker all night long, was the prospect of seeing Michael for the first time in 32 days. It is completely cruel to force a person of my tender years, when I should be getting at least 9 hours of sleep at night, to travel back and forth between two such drastically different time zones, with not even a single day of rest in between. I am still completely jet-lagged, and I am sure it is going to stunt not only my physical growth, not in the height department because I am tall enough, thank you, but in the mammary gland division, glands being very sensitive to things like disrupted sleep cycles, but my intellectual growth as well. And now that I am entering the second semester of my freshman year, my grades are actually going to start to matter. Not that I intend to go to college or anything, at least not right away. I, like Prince William, intend to take a year off between high school and college, but I hope to spend it developing some kind of gift or talent, or if I can't find one, volunteering for Greenpeace, hopefully in one of those boats that goes out between Japanese and Russian whaling ships and the whales. I don't think Greenpeace takes volunteers who don't have at least a 3.0 grade point average. Anyway, it was murder getting up this morning, especially after I'd dragged out my school uniform. I realized my Queen Amidala panties weren't in my underwear drawer. I have to wear my Queen Amidala underwear on the first day of every semester, or I'll have bad luck for the rest of the year. I always have good luck when I wear my Queen Amidala panties. For instance, I was wearing them the night of the non-denominational winter dance when Michael finally told me he loved me. Not that he was in love with me, of course, but that he loved me, hopefully not like a friend. I have to wear my Queen Amidala panties on the first day of second semester, just like I'll have to send them to the laundry by the pound place to get them washed before Friday, so I can wear them on my date with Michael, because I'm going to need extra luck that night. If I'm going to have to compete with Kate Bosworths of the world for his attentions, and also, since I plan on giving Michael his birthday present that night, his birthday present that I'm hoping he will like so much he'll totally fall in love with me if he hasn't already. So I had to go into my mom's room, the one she shares with Mr. Gayanini, and wake her up. Thank God Mr. G was in the shower. I swear to God if I had to see them in bed together in the condition I was in at that time, I would have gone completely Anne Hatching and be all, Mom, where's my Queen Amidala underwear? My mom, who sleeps like a log even when she isn't pregnant, just went sure no vogue, which isn't even a word. Mom, I said, I need my Queen Amidala underwear. Where are they? But all my mom said was, Kapukin. So then I got an idea. Not that I really thought there was any way my mom wasn't going to let me go out with Michael after her uplifting speech about him the night before, but just to make sure she couldn't back out of it, I went, Mom, can I go with Michael for dinner and a movie at the screening room this Friday night? And she went, rolling over, Yeah, yeah, Skunipper. So I got that taken care of. But I still had to go to school in my regular underwear, which creeped me out a little because there's nothing special about it. It is just boring and white. But then I kind of perked up when I got in the limo because of the prospect of seeing Michael and all. But then I was like, oh my God, what was going to happen when I saw Michael? Because when you haven't seen your boyfriend in 32 days, you can't just be all, oh hi, when you see him. You have to like give him a hug or something. But how was I going to give him a hug in the car with everyone watching? I mean, at least I wasn't going to have to worry about my stepdad, since Mr. G fully refuses to take the limo to school with me and Lars and Lily and Michael every morning, even though we are all going to the same place. But Mr. Gayanini says he likes the subway. He says it is the only time he gets to listen to music he likes. Mom and I won't let him play Blood, Sweat and Tears in the loft, so he has to listen to it on his iPod. But what about Lily? I mean, Lily was totally going to be there. How can I hug Michael in front of Lily? And okay, it is partly because of Lily that Michael and I got together in the first place, but that does not mean that I feel perfectly comfortable participating in, public displays of affection with him right in front of her. If this were Genovia, it would be all right to kiss him on both cheeks because that is the standard form of greeting there. But this is America, where you barely even shake hands with people unless you are like the mayor. Plus, there was the whole Jane Eyre thing. I mean, Tina and I had resolved we were not going to chase our boyfriends, but we hadn't said anything about how to greet them again after not having seen them for 32 days. I was almost going to ask Lars what he thought I ought to do when I had a brainstorm right as we were pulling up to the Moskowitz building. Hans, the driver, was going to hop out and open the door for Lily and Michael, but I went, "I've got it," and then I hopped out instead. But there was Michael, standing there in the slush, looking all tall and handsome and manly, the wind tugging at his dark hair. Just the sight of him set my heart going about 1,000 beats per minute. I felt like I was going to melt, especially when he smiled once he saw me, a smile that went all the way up to his eyes, which were as deeply brown as I remembered and filled with the same intelligence and good humor that had been there the last time I had gazed into them 32 days earlier. What I could not tell was whether or not they were filled with love. Tina had said I'd be able to tell just by looking into his eyes whether or not Michael loved me. But the truth was, all I could tell by looking into his eyes was that Michael didn't find me utterly repulsive. If he had, he would have looked away, the way I do when I see that boy in the calf at school who always picks the corn out of his chili. "Hi," I said, my voice suddenly super squeaky. "Hi," Michael said, his voice not squeaky at all, but really very thrillingly deep and Wolverine-like. So then we stood there with our gazes locked on each other and our breath coming out in little puffs of white steam, and people hurrying down Fifth Avenue on the sidewalk around us. People I barely saw. I hardly even noticed Lily go, "Oh, for Pete's sake," and stomp past me to climb into the limo. Then Michael went, "It's really good to see you," and I went, "It's really good to see you too." From inside the limo, Lily went, "Hello, it's like 2 below outside. Will you two hurry it up and get in here already?" So then I went, "I guess we better." And Michael went, "Yeah," and put his hand on the limo door to hold it open for me. But as I started to duck in there, he put his other hand on my arm, and when I turned around to see what he wanted, even though I kinda already knew, he went, "So, can you go on Friday night?" And I went, "Uh-huh." And then he kind of pulled on my arm in a very Mr. Rochester-like manner, causing me to take a step closer, and faster than I'd ever seen him move before, he bent down and kissed me, right on the mouth in front of his doorman and all the rest of Fifth Avenue. I have to admit, Michael's doorman and all of the people passing by, including everyone on the M1 bus that went barreling down the street at that very moment, didn't seem to take very much notice that the Princess of Genovia was getting kissed right there in front of them. But I noticed, and it felt great. It made me feel like maybe all my worrying about whether Michael loved me as a potential life partner as opposed to just as a friend had maybe been stupid, because you don't kiss a friend like that, I don't think. So then I slid into the back of the limo with Lily, a big silly smile on my face that I was totally afraid she might make fun of, but I couldn't help it. I was so happy because in spite of not having on my Queen Amidala underwear, I was already having a good semester, and it wasn't even 15 minutes old. Then Michael got in beside me and closed the door, and Hans started to drive, and Lars said good morning to Lily and Michael, and they said good morning back, and I didn't even notice that Lars was smirking behind his latte until Lily told me when we got out of the limo at school. Like, she said, we didn't all know what you were doing out there. But she said it in a nice way. I was so happy I hardly even heard what Lily was talking about on our way into school, which was the whole movie thing. She had sent, she said, a certified letter to the producers of the movie of my life and had no response, even though they had had it for more than a week. It is, Lily said, just another example of how those Hollywood types think they can get away with whatever they want. Well, I'm here to tell them they can't. Even if I don't hear back from them by tomorrow, I'm going to the news media. That got my attention. I blinked at her. You mean you are going to have a press conference? Why not? Lily shrugged. You did it, and up until recently you could barely formulate a coherent sentence in front of a camera. So how hard can it be? Wow, Lily is really mad about this movie thing. I guess I'm going to have to watch it myself to see how bad it is. The other kids at school don't seem to have thought much about it, but then they were all in St. Moritz or their winter homes in Ojai when it came on. They were too busy skiing or having fun in the sun to watch any stupid made-for-TV movie about the life of one of their classmates. From the looks of the number of casts people were wearing, Tina was by far not the only one to sprain something on her vacation. Everyone had a much better time on their break than I did. Even Michael says he spent most of the time at his grandparents' condo, sitting on the balcony and writing songs for his new band. I guess I am the only one who passed the whole of my break sitting in parliamentary sessions trying to negotiate parking rates for casino garages in downtown Genovia. Still, it's good to be back. It's good to be back because for the first time in my whole entire academic career, the guy I like actually likes, maybe even loves me back. And I get to see him between classes and in gifted and talented fifth period. Oh my God, I totally forgot. It's a new semester. They are assigning us all new schedules. They are passing them out at the end of homeroom after the announcements. What if Michael and I aren't in the same gifted and talented class anymore? I am not even supposed to be gifted and talented at all, seeing as how I am neither. They only put me in there when it became clear I was flunking algebra. So I have an extra period for independent study. I was supposed to be in Tech Ed for that period. Tech Ed, where they make you build spice racks. Second semester is domestic arts. If I get put in domestic arts this semester instead of gifted and talented, I will die. Because I ended up getting a B minus in algebra last semester. They don't give you independent study periods if you are making B minuses. B minus is considered good, except, to people like Judith Greshner. Oh God, I knew it. I just knew something bad was going to happen if I didn't wear my green Amidala underwear. So, if I'm not in G&T, then the only time I will see Michael will be at lunch and between classes, because he is a senior and I am only a freshman. So it's not like I'll be in advanced calculus with him or that he'll be in French 2 with me. And I might not even be able to see him at lunch. We could conceivably not have the same lunch periods. And even if we do, what is the likelihood that Michael and I are even going to sit together at lunch? Traditionally, I always have sat with Lily and Tina, and Michael always has sat with the computer club and upperclassmen. Is he going to come sit by me now? No way can I go sit at his table. All those guys over there ever do is talk about things I don't understand, like how Steve Jobs sucks and how easy it is to hack into India's missile defense system. Oh God, they are passing out the new class schedules now. Please don't let me be in domestic arts. Please, 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 please. Tuesday, January 20th, Algebra. Ha! My Queen Amidala underwear might be missing, but the power of the Force is with me nonetheless. My class schedule is exactly the same as last semester's, except that by some miracle I now have Bio third period instead of World Civ. Oh God, please don't let Kenny, my former bio partner and ex-boyfriend, have been switched to third period bio 2. World Civ is now 7th, and instead of PE 4th period, we all have health and safety, and no tech ed or domestic arts. Thank God. I don't know who told the administration that I am gifted and talented, but whoever it was, I am eternally grateful, and I will definitely try to live up to it. And I happen to know that not only does Michael still have 5th period G&T, but he has the same lunch hour as I do too. I know that because after I got here to algebra and sat down and got out my notebook and my Algebra 1 to 2 textbook, Michael came in. Yes, he came right into Mr. G's second semester freshman algebra class like he belonged there or something, and everyone was staring at him, including Lana Weinberger, Because, seniors don't generally just go walking into freshman classes unless they're looking for the attendance office and bringing someone a hall pass or something. But Michael doesn't work for the attendance office. He popped into Mr. G's class just to see me. I know, because he came right up to my desk with his class schedule in his hand and went, "What lunch have you got?" And I told him, "A." And he said, "Same as me. You have G and T after?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Cool. See you at lunch." And then he turned around and walked out again, looking all tall and collegiate with his JanSport backpack and New Balances. And the way he said, "Hey, Mr. G," all casually to Mr. Gaonini, who was sitting at his desk with a cup of coffee in his hands and his eyebrows all raised as he went walking out. Well, you just can't get cooler than that. And he had been in here to see me, Mia Thermopolis, formerly the most unpopular person in the entire school, with the exception of that guy who doesn't like corn in his chili. So now everyone who had not seen Michael and me kissing at the non-denominational winter dance knows that we are going out, because you don't walk into someone else's classroom between periods to look at their schedule unless you are dating. I could feel all the gazes of my fellow algebra sufferers boring into me, even as the bell was ringing, including Lana Van Burgers. You could practically hear everybody going, "He's going out with her?" I guess it is a little hard to believe. I mean, even I can hardly believe it's true, because of course it's common knowledge that Michael's the third best looking boy in the whole school after Josh Reicher and Justin Baxendale. Though if you ask me, having seen Michael plenty of times without a shirt on, he makes those guys look like Quasimodo dude. So what is he doing with me, a talentless freak with feet the size of skis and no breasts to speak of and nostrils that flare when I lie? Plus, I am a lowly freshman and Michael is a senior who has already been accepted early decision to an Ivy League college right here in Manhattan. Plus, Michael is co-valedictorian of his class, being an straight A student, whereas I barely scraped by Algebra 1. Plus, Michael is way involved with extracurriculars including the computer club, chess club, and physics club. He designed the school's website. He can play like 10 instruments, and now he is starting his own band. Me? I'm a princess. That's about it. And that's only recently. Before I found out I was a princess, I was just this massive reject who was flunking algebra and always had orange cat hair all over her school uniform. So yeah, I guess you could say that a lot of people were kind of surprised to see Michael Moskowitz come striding up to my desk in algebra to compare class schedules. I could feel them all staring at me after he left and the bell rang, and I could hear them buzzing about it among themselves. Mr. G tried to bring everybody to order, going, "Okay, okay, break's over. I know it's been a long time since you last saw one another, but we've got a lot to tackle in the next 9 weeks." Only, of course, nobody paid any attention to him but me. In the desk in front of me, Lana Wenberger was already on her cell phone, the new one that I'd paid for on account of my having stomped her old one to bits in a semi-psychotic fit last month, going, "Shell, you are not going to believe what just happened. You know that freaky girl in your Latin class, the one with the TV show and the flat face? Yeah, well, her brother was just in here comparing class schedules with Mia Thermopylae. Unfortunately for Lana, Mr. Giannini has a thing about cell phone usage during class time. He fully pounced on her, snatched her phone away, put it up to his ear, and said, "Miss Weinberger can't speak to you right now as she is busy writing a 1,000-word essay on how rude it is to make cell phone calls during class time." After which he threw her phone in his desk drawer and told her she'd get it back at the end of the day once she had handed in her essay. I wish Mr. G would give Lana's cell phone to me instead. I would fully use it in a more responsible manner than she does. But I guess even if the teacher is your stepdad, he can't just confiscate things from other students and give them to you. Which is a bummer because I could really use a cell phone right now. I just remembered I never asked my mom what Grandmere wanted when she called last night. Oh, crude integers. Gotta go. B equals x. X is an integer such that x is greater than 0. Definition: when integer is squared, the result is called a perfect square. Tuesday, January 20th. Health and safety. This is so boring. MT. You are telling me how many times in our academic careers are they going to tell us having unprotected sex can result in unwanted pregnancy and AIDS? Do they think it didn't soak in the first 5,000 times or something? LM. Apparently. Hey, did you see Mr. Wheaton open the door to the teacher's lounge, look at Mademoiselle clean, then leave? He is so obviously in love with her. I know. You can totally tell. He is always bringing her lattes from Hose. What is that about if not love? Wahim will be devastated if they start going out. Yeah, but why would she choose Mr. Wheaton over Wahim? Wahim has all the muscles, not to mention a gun. Who can explain the vagaries of human heart? Not I. Oh my God, look, he's moving on to vehicular safety. Could this be more boring? Let's make a list. You started. Okay. Mia Thermopolis's new and improved list of hottest guys with commentary by Lily Moskowitz. 1. Michael Moskowitz. Lily. Obviously, I can't agree due to genetic link to said individual. Will concede he is not hideously deformed. 2. Ewan Gifford from the Fantastic Four films. Lily. Agreed. 3. The guy from Smallville. Lily. Duh. Only they should have him join the school swim team because he needs to take his shirt off more per episode. 4. Hayden Christensen. Lily. Again. Duh. Ditto swim team. There must be one for Jedis, even ones who have embraced the dark side. 5. Mr. Rochester. Lily. Fictional character, but I agree he exudes certain rugged manliness. 6. Patrick Swayze. Lily. Okay, maybe in Dirty Dancing, but have you seen him lately? The guy is older than your dad. 7. Captain Von Trapp from The Sound of Music. Lily. Christopher Plummer was a hottie extraordinaire. I would pit him against the Nazi horde any time. 8. Justin Baxendale. Lily. Agree. I heard an 11th grader tried to kill herself because he looked at her. Seriously, like his eyes were so hypnotic, she went full on Sylvia Plath. She is in counseling now. 9. Heath Ledger. Lily. Ooh, in the Rock and Roll Night movie, totally. Not so much in Four Feathers though. I found his performance in that film somewhat stilted. Plus, he didn't take his shirt off enough. 10. Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Lily. I think I know someone else who needs counseling. Tuesday, January 20th. Gifted and talented. I am so depressed. I know I shouldn't be. I mean, everything in my life is going so great. Great thing number 1. The boy I have been madly in love with my entire life practically loves, or at least really likes me back. And we are going out on our first real date on Friday. Great thing number 2. I know it is only the first day of the new semester, but as of yet I am not flunking anything, including algebra. Great thing number 3. I am no longer in Genovia, the most boring place on the entire planet, with the possible exception of algebra class and Grandmare's princess lessons. Great thing number 4. I don't have Kenny for my bio partner anymore. My new partner is Shamika. What a relief, which I know is cowardly, feeling relieved that I don't have to sit by Kenny anymore. But I am pretty sure Kenny thinks I am this horrible person to have led him on like that all those months when I really liked someone else, though not the person he thought I liked. Anyway, the fact that I don't have to deal with any hostile looks from Kenny's direction, even though he fully has a new girlfriend, a girl from our bio class, as a matter of fact, he didn't waste any time, is probably really going to boost my grade in that class. Plus, Shamika is really good at science. Actually, Shamika is really good at a lot of things on account of her being a Pisces, but like me, Shamika has no one particular talent, which makes her my soul sister if you think about it. Great thing number 5. I have really cool friends who seem actually to want to hang around with me, and not just because I'm a princess either. But that, see, is the problem. I have all these great things going for me, and I should be totally happy. I should be over the moon with joy. And maybe it's only the jet lag talking. I am so tired I can barely keep my eyes open. Or possibly PMS. I am sure my internal clock is way messed up from all this transcontinental flying, but I can't shake this feeling that I am, well, a total reject. I started to realize it today at lunch. I was sitting there like always with Lily and Boris and Tina and Shamika and Ling Su, and then Michael came and sat down with us, which of course caused this total cafeteria sensation, since usually he sits with the computer club and everyone in the entire school knows it. But I was totally embarrassed and of course proud and pleased too, because Michael never sat at our table back when he and I were just friends. So his sitting there must mean that he is at least slightly in love with me, because it is quite a sacrifice to give up the intellectual talk at the table where he normally sits for the kinds of talks we have at my table, which are generally like in-depth analysis of last night's episode of Charmed and how cute Ross McGowan's halter top was or whatever. But Michael was totally a good sport about it, even though he thinks Charmed is facile, and I really did try to steer the conversation around to things a guy would like, such as Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Mila Jovovich. Only it turned out I didn't even need to, because Michael is like one of those lichen moths we read about in bio. You know, the ones that turned black when the moss they fed on got all sooty during the Industrial Revolution. He can totally adapt to any situation and feel at ease. This is an amazing talent that I wish I had. Maybe if I did, I wouldn't feel so out of place at meetings of the Genovian Olive Growers Association. Anyway, today at the lunch table, someone brought up cloning, and everyone was talking about who would you clone if you could clone anyone, and people were saying like Albert Einstein so he could come back and tell us the meaning of life and stuff, or Jonas Salk so he could find a cure for cancer, or Mozart so he could finish his last requiem. Whatever, that one was Boris's, of course, or Madame Pompadour, so she could give us all tips on romance, Tina, or Jane Austen, so she could write scathingly about the current political climate, and we could all benefit from her cutting wit, Lily. And then Michael said he would clone Kurt Cobain because he was a musical genius who died too young. And then he asked me who I would clone, and I couldn't think of anyone because there really isn't anyone dead that I would want to bring back, except maybe Grandpere. But how creepy would that be? And Grandmere would probably freak. So I just said Fat Louie because I love Fat Louie and wouldn't mind having two of him around. Only nobody looked very impressed by this except for Michael, who said, "That's nice," which he probably only said because he is my boyfriend. But whatever, I could deal with that. I am totally used to being the only person I know who sits through Empire Records every time it comes on TBS and who thinks it is one of the best movies ever made after Star Wars and Dirty Dancing and Say Anything and Pretty Women, of course. Oh, and Tremors and Twister. I am content to keep the fact that I must watch the Miss America pageant every single year without fail, secret, even though I know it is degrading to women and not a scholarship fund, considering no one bigger than a size 10 ever gets into it. I mean, I know these things about myself. It is just the way I am. And though I have tried to improve myself by watching award-winning movies such as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Gladiator, I don't know. I just don't like them. Everybody dies at the end, and besides, if there is not dancing or explosions, it is very hard for me to pay attention. So, okay, I'm trying to accept these things about myself. They are just the way I am. Like, I am good at English class and not so good at algebra, whatever. But it wasn't until we got to Gifted and Talented today after lunch and Lily started working on the short list for this week's episode of her cable access show, Lily Tells It Like It Is, and Boris got out his violin and started playing a concerto. Sadly, not in the supply closet because they still haven't put the door back on it, and Michael put on headphones and started working on a new song for his band that it finally hit me. There is not one thing that I am particularly good at. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that I am a princess, I would be the most ordinary person alive. It is not even that I can't serve or weave a friendship bracelet. I can't do anything. I mean, all my friends have these incredible things they can do. Lily knows everything there is to know and isn't shy about saying it in front of a camera. Michael can not only play guitar and like 50 other instruments, including the piano and drums, but he can also design whole computer programs. Boris has been playing his violin at sold-out Carnegie Hall concerts since he was like 11 years old or something. Tina Hakim Baba can read like a book a day and retain what she's read and quote it back practically verbatim. And Ling Su is an extremely talented artist. The only person at our lunch table besides me who has no discernible special gift is Shamika, and that made me feel better for about a minute before I remembered that Shamika is totally smart and beautiful and gets straight A's, and people who work at modeling agencies are always coming up to her in like Bloomingdale's when she is shopping with her mom and asking her to let them represent her. Even though Shamika's dad says over his dead body, will any daughter of his be a model? But me? I do not know why Michael even likes me. I am so talentless and boring. I mean, I guess it's a good thing. My destiny as the monarch of a nation is sealed because if I had to go apply for a job somewhere, I so wouldn't get it because I'm not good at anything. So here I am, sitting in Gifted and Talented, and there really is no getting around this basic fact. I, Mia Thermopolis, am neither gifted nor talented. What am I doing in here? I do not belong here. I belong in tech ed or domestic arts. I should be making a birdhouse or a pie. Just as I was writing this, Lily leaned over me and went, "Oh my God, what is wrong with you? You look like you just ate a sock." Which is what we say whenever someone looks super depressed because that is how Fat Louie always looks whenever he accidentally eats one of my socks and has to go to the vet to have it surgically removed. Fortunately, Michael didn't hear her on account of having his headphones on. I would never have been able to confess in front of him what I confessed then to his sister, which is that I am a big talentless phony, because then he would know I am nothing like Kate Bosworth and dump me. And they only put me in this class in the first place because I was flunking algebra, I told her. Then Lily said the most surprising thing. Without batting an eye, she went, "You have a talent." I stared at her, my own eyes wide and I am afraid filled with tears. "Oh yeah? What?" I was really scared I was going to cry. It really must be PMS or something, because I was practically getting ready to start bawling. But to my disappointment, all Lily said was, "Well, if you can't figure it out, I'm not going to tell you." When I protested this, she went, "Part of the journey of achieving self-actualization is that you have to reach it on your own without help or guidance from others. Otherwise, you won't feel as keen a sense of accomplishment, but it's staring you in the face." I looked around, but I couldn't figure out what she was talking about. There was nothing staring me in the face that I could see. No one was looking at me at all. Boris was busy scrapping away with his bow, and Michael was fingering his keyboard furiously and silently, but that was about it. Everyone else was bent over their Kaplan review books or doodling or making sculptures out of Vaseline or whatever. I still have no idea what Lily's talking about. There is nothing I am talented at, except maybe telling a fish fork apart from a dinner. I can't believe that all I thought I needed in order to achieve self-actualization was the love of the man to whom I have pledged my heart. Knowing Michael loves me, or at least really likes me, just makes it all worse, because his incredible talentlessness makes the fact that I am not good at anything even more obvious. I wish I could go to the nurse's office and take a nap, because they won't let you do that unless you have a temperature, and I'm pretty sure all I have is jet lag. I knew it was going to be a bad day. If I had had on my Queen Amidala underwear, I never would have come face to face with the truth about myself. Tuesday, January 20th. World Civ. Inventor Samuel F. B. Morse. Invention Telegraph. Benefits to society: easier communication. Cost to society: disrupted view. Wires. Inventor Thomas A. Edison. Invention electric light. Benefits to society: easier to turn on lights, less expensive than candles. Cost to society: society didn't trust them, weren't successful at first. Ben Franklin. Invention lightning rod. Benefits to society: less chance of house being struck. Cost to society: ugly. Ellie Whitney. Invention cotton gin. Benefits to society: less work. Cost to society: less employment. A. Graham Bell. Invention telephone. Benefits to society: easier communication. Cost to society: disrupted view. Wires. Elias Harvey. Invention. Sewing machine. Benefits to society, less work. Cost to society, less employment. Chris Scholes. Invention. Typewriter. Benefits to society, easier work. Cost to society, less employment. Henry Ford. Invention. Automobile. Benefits to society, faster transportation. Cost to society, pollution. I will never invent anything, either of benefit or cost to any society, because I am a talentless reject. I couldn't even get the country I will one day rule to install parking meters. Homework. Algebra. Props at beginning of chapter 11. No review session. Mr. G has meetings. Also, just started semester, so nothing to review yet. Also, not flunking anymore. English. Update journal. How I spent my winter break. 500 words. Bio. Read chapter 13. Health and safety. Read chapter 1. You and your environment. G and T. Figure out secret talent. French. Chapitre Dix. World Civ. Chapter 13. Brave New World. Tuesday, January 20th. In the limo on way to Grand Mare's for princess lessons.